Right, hello everyone. Let's get cracking. Louisa charges £320 into euros. Cool, nice and simple. 320 multiplied by 1.14 gives me 364.8. I'm not just going to write down the answer though. I'm going to write down what my working out was. Even if my working out is really simple, I am going to write it down. Okay, my next term, well, I'm adding 4 every time, so that makes my next term 22. Find an expression for the nth term. Okay, we can do that. So if I'm going up in 4s, in class we looked at writing it down as a times table. So 4, 8, 12, 16. That's been shifted by 2 each time. So if my times table is 4 and my shift is 2, my nth term equation becomes 4n add 2. Okay, explain why. 500 is not a term of the sequence, it's odd. Terms in this sequence are all even. There you go. Find the term in the sequence that is nearest to 511. Okay, well, we found that this was my equation. So if we attempt to solve this, we get n is going to be 409 divided by 4. 509 divided by 4 gives me 127.25. So the closest whole number, integer, let's use the proper words, whole number, is 127. So if I put 127 into my nth term formula, I get 510 as my closest number in that sequence. Now we know how to solve these things. I'm going to take away 7 on both sides, so 6x is equal to 27, and then I'm going to divide both sides by 6, so x is 4.5. Multiply out, lovely, 3x plus y, x plus 2y. Now I taught you guys to draw lines in between each one. If you've got a different way that helps it make sense, do whatever. This is just for me to help make sense of things. I know that I need to multiply along each of these lines and then add up all the results at the end. So 3x squared, add 2y squared, add xy, add 6xy. That gives me 3x squared, add 7xy, add 2y squared. Okay, proportion, super. Well, proportion is going to be fat divided by your mass or your weight, because it's going to be which one's got the most amount of fat for 1 gram or for the same amount of weight. So we can do this nice and simply. 154 divided by 440 for the burgers, 120 divided by 350 for the sausages, and 116 divided by 330 for the meatballs. So 154 divided by 440 gives me 0.35. 120 divided by 350 gives me 0.343. And the last one, 116 divided by 330, will give me 0.352. So therefore the highest proportion is this one, meatballs. Okay. Solving an inequality, we just imagine that this sign is an equal sign. We just pretend that that's the case. So now we're going to solve it. So take away 3 on both sides, I get 12. Divide by 4 on both sides, I get 3. And then we put the sign back in at the end. So I now know that x is strictly less than 3. And because it's strictly less than 3, I don't colour this in, I leave this open. Okay. Heidi, Yoshi compete in the same car race. Heidi does it in 6 hours with an average speed of 50 miles an hour. And Yoshi does this in 48 miles per hour. How long does it take in hours and minutes? Okay, let's do that. So distance is speed multiplied by time, and time is distance divided by speed. You can help remember it with a little triangle. I still remember it like this. So if I've got 6 hours at 50 miles an hour, that means that there's 300 miles. But if Yoshi does the same distance in 48 miles an hour, I can now work out how long it took. So 6.25 hours. Now, I've got a fancy button on my calculator, this one, that just changes it into hours and minutes for me. So that's 6 hours, 15 minutes. If your calculator doesn't do that, take the 0.25, multiply it by 60 for 60 minutes in an hour. And that'll give you 15. Cool. Garden pond, yeah. I like drawing a picture for these ones. They helps them make sense. So if it's starting at 57.8 and it's going down by 0.3 until it gets to 54.2, that's a decrease of 3.6. You can find that by just taking one away from the other. 3.6. Well, if I've got 3.6 and I'm doing this in 0.3 each day, that means that it's 12 days. If the depth of the water decreases at a slower rate, it's going to take more days. Nice bit of algebra. So Benny is 7 years older than Aisha. Chloe is twice as old as Benny. So we can do this nice and easily. We're going to change this one. Actually, sorry. And the sum of their ages, A plus B plus C, is equal to 57. Now we've got to find a way of having the same letter, because A, B and C won't work. But I can change A to be Benny's age take away 7 is Arisha's age. So if Arisha's age is Benny's take away 7, and then I just have Benny's age, and Chloe's age is twice what Benny's is, and I know that all that adds up to 57, I can solve this like an equation, which means that B must be 16, which makes Arisha's age 9 and Chloe's age 32. And now I can double check this on the calculator by adding them all together to show that it's still 57. So I've done it right. Exterior angles. Okay, so exterior angles. Sum to 360. So if I've got a 12-sided polygon, I do 360 divided by 12 to give me how much one angle is. So 30 degrees. In part B, I want to know the interior angle. Well, I can work that out by doing 180 take away 30 to give me 150. Working out this angle, BDC. This is nice and easy. We can use the parallel lines here and here to know that this is 80. And if that's 80, I'm just going to draw it again here. If that's 80, that makes that bit 100. But if that bit is split into 56 and something else, that must make the other bit 44. Let's do that whole calculation. So 180 take away 80 gives me 100, and 100 take away 56 gives me 44. Job done. Ooh. Calculate the size of each angle. Okay. Well, I know that all the angles in a triangle add up to 180. So I've then got 6x is equal to, sorry, I'm doing a whole bunch of this in my head at once, 210. Let's just show that. So 180, add 43, but take away 13 gives me 210. And I've got 2x, 3x, and 1x, which means that x on its own must be 35 degrees. Now that I know this, I can work out all the other ones. So if x is 35, 3x minus 43, I can work out on the calculator, and 2x plus 13, I can work out on the calculator. So multiply by 3. Well, actually, let's do this properly. So 3 times 35, take away 43, gives me 62. And 2 times 35, add 13, gives me 83. So 35, 62, and 83. And just to make sure that it all works, we should add them all up at the end and double check that they all add to 180. So I know that I've got that one right. Okay. Loads of different ways you can do this one, but I know if those two angles are opposite, they are the same angle. So that means that if I take away x on this side and that side, but also add 50 on both sides, I'm going to get 70 is equal to 2x, so x must be 35. If x is 35, that makes that angle 55, which makes y 125. Because 180 take away 55 is 125. Okay. Love it. These two are the same. X plus 85 is equal to 2x, add 30, take away x on both sides, take away 30 on both sides. So I get 55 is equal to x. Now if 55 is equal to x and 55 plus 85 is 140, which I'm just going to double check on my calculator. That's 85, 140. That must mean y is 40. Density. Okay, well, density, the clue's here. It's the grams divided by the volume. So if I want to work out the volume of copper that was used, I'd go the other way and I'd do the density divided by the amount of copper, or divided by the grams, that's the word I'm looking for, and that will tell me the volume. Hang on, that's not right. mass divided by volume is density. So density, no, other way around. Do apologise. Mass 180 divided by the density 9 gives me 20. Give me the volume. What's the density of the alloy? Okay. We can do that nice and easily. We've got the total mass, and we can work out the total volume by doing, well, we can work out the volume of zinc by doing that divided by that, which should be 15. So we've got a total volume of 20 and 15, so 35 centimeters cubed. And then we're going to take this total mass, so total mass of 180 add 105, which is 285, and take the 285 and divide it by our total volume, which gives us 8.14. Job done. Now this one was a tricky one. Write down the second and fifth terms of this nth term. So the second term is when n is 2. So 2 squared, take away 3 times 2 is negative 2. But the fifth term is when n is 5. So 5 squared, take away 3 times 5 is 10. There you go. B is inversely proportional to the square root of A. So B is equal to K over the square root of A. This is definitely a HL thing. We did go over it. We might need to go over this one again. So if B is 12 and A is 9, 12 is equal to K over the square root of 9. So 12 is equal to K divided by 3. And if K divided by 3 is 12, that means that K must be 36. So my formula linking A and B is 36, or B is equal to 36 divided by the square root of A. Job done. The area of the rectangle is this, correct to the nearest meter. So this is a bounds question, upper bound, lower bound question. The length of the rectangle is correct to the nearest 0.1, and I want the smallest possible width. So you've got to, this is why these track questions are difficult, is because there's a bit of problem solving and a bit of reasoning here. So the area, if it's to the nearest meter, means that it's between 55.5 and 56.5. The length is going to be 9.15 or up to 9.25 within that range. Now, if I know that to make the area of a triangle, of a rectangle, I do length multiplied by width to give me the area, that means that the area divided by the length will give me the width. But to make the smallest possible number when I'm dividing two things, I want the smallest area divided by the biggest length. So the smallest possible area, I'm actually going to move this over here. So the smallest possible area is 55.5, but the biggest possible length is 9.25. So together, that means that the smallest possible width is 6. That's such a pleasing number. Cool. Now, a very tricky one. The nth term as a sequence is given by this thing. Find A and B. And yes, this was intentionally difficult. It's the last question for a reason. Okay, so the third term is 9. So A times 3 squared plus B times 3 is 9. So 9A plus 3B is equal to 9. And the other one, the sixth term, so A times 6 squared plus B times 6 is 126. So 36A add 6B is 126. And this is where it just is difficult. Oh, that should be a B there. Plus 3B is equal to 9. Now, if I double this one, I get 18A plus 6B is equal to 18. And that's okay because I multiplied everything on both sides by the same thing. But now if I've got this one, and I just rewrite the other one on top to make it easier to spot the differences, this one has 18 more A's, and on this side is more by something on my calculator could do, 108. Well, that must mean that 18A is equal to 108, which means that A must be 6. But if A is 6 and 9A plus 3B is 9, then 9 times by 6 add 3B is also 9. So 54 add 3B is 9, but that means that 3B must be negative 45, which means that B must be negative 15. Job done. Hopefully all that made sense, and if it didn't, ask me in school. Thank you very much. Have a lovely day. Thank you. Bye.